My name is Efe Osaren. I'm a student midwife and a doula. So a doula is kind of like your best friend during pregnancy. So they're a birth coach, helping you with education throughout the process, navigating a birth system. So depending if you want to have a home birth or a hospital, sometimes they provide lactation counseling or different feeding methods. They provide comfort measures, so you'll see them prenatally. What we call them prenatals, but you see them for a few times before you go into labor. Then they're at your labor. They attend the labor and they're there with you the whole time to help you navigate your birth plan. And then they're there until after the baby is born for a couple of hours and you get situated. And that usually ends there, and then you may see them postpartum once or twice. You can also sign up for a postpartum doula, which will be like hourly within like the first few weeks of the baby's life. A little interesting question. So I'm a third generation midwife. I witnessed my aunt do traditional Nigerian baths for everyone in my family. And so she was sort of the doula without me really knowing what a doula was. So I was around birth a lot, and my younger sister had a baby, and I was present for that, but I didn't really know what was going on. And she had another child a couple years later, and I had did some studying and I did some research, and I was like, we're going to do all the little cute little natural things. You're going to have a water birth and all this, and come to find out she couldn't do any of that because they just want accessible information on like how to access a more natural care to her pregnancy. After that, I got trained by an organization in Austin, Texas. So I did a training out there for about 4-day training. And then I started working as a doula for a little bit. And then I moved to New York because I was looking for a more reproductive justice center in terms of my birth work, and found Ancient Song Doula Services. Yeah, so I'm a student midwife, but I only a student midwife when I'm working with a licensed midwife doing home births, and then when I'm working with my personal clients, I'm a doula. Sometimes they do kind of carry over, so like I know how to know when your vitals are showing emergency signs or not showing emergency signs, or telling you how many times your baby kicked today and what that looks like, or discovering signs of preeclampsia, which is like hypertension in pregnancy. So those skills that I did pick up from studying midwifery. So a midwife is your holistic care provider. They do everything that your OB does except the C-section. With the model midwifery and model of care, which discusses kind of like how I do my doula services with covering the whole issues of the pregnancy. So if you are experiencing issues with diet, what is your nutrition like? What is your access to nutrition? Do we need to have food stamps? Do we need to find a farmer's market? Do we need to have more supplements? So similar things like that. The midwife is seeing them way more often than a doula. Similar to like your OB visits, but they're lasting longer. So you would see your OB for maybe like 10, 15 minutes tops. Your midwife is, depending on the midwife I work with, we can be with a client from 1 to 3 hours in a prenatal, depending on what she's discussing. So sometimes we can discuss your vitals and listening to baby and kicking. Sometimes we're doing that plus other things that, because these things will show up in the birth part and during labor. So it's really trying to address them beginning. The main difference is one is trained as a surgeon and one is an expert in birth. While OBs also can be expert in birth, I met plenty of OBs who practice similar to midwives. Midwifery and model of care just allows more time to learn that person holistically. And so you're able to build that relationship with that person. So when you do go into labor, this is the person that you've been seeing throughout your entire pregnancy. It's not a stranger. They know how you react to certain things. They know what questions you have to ask. They know what your family is going to be present or not, and how to interact with them. We have a long history of midwives being criminalized in this country. Specifically our grand midwives, right at the ending of when we were enslaved. Our midwives deliver everybody's babies. Grand midwives deliver everybody's babies. to afterwards. And then there was this push to say that midwives were dirty, they were killing babies, they were not safe, they were not healthy, and this was predominantly to Black and Native women midwives. And there was a lot of propaganda to the community to say, don't hire a midwife, go to the hospital, have a safe birth. And then we start to see this influx of, being really drugged out during birth, being strapped down. Patriarchy just kind of took over from there. And that was kind of how we started to lose track of what midwifery provided for our families. And hopefully now we have this resurgent back up to providing more midwifery care for all women, because midwives can provide low risk care, and you're not always necessarily needed to be in a hospital if you are healthy. So clients usually contact me around the end of second trimester, beginning of third trimester. I meet with them, have a consult, so to see if we're the right fit for each other. We're about in 30 minutes, an hour at a coffee shop, ask me questions about what they're wanting from me and then what I can provide for them. And then we'll set up our prenatal visits. So I do 2 to 4 visits. It's often 4, depending on if I do get them at the end of second trimester. And my first visit focuses on their birth plan and what their beliefs are about birth. So we talk about really a lot of the normalized culture of birth being a lot of fear in it and a lot of very heavily medicalized. So we go over uneducating about that, or relearning about what birth could actually be. And then a second visit, I do a childbirth education class. And so I teach them the physiological process of labor, from what all the stages are, to what labor looks like, to what postpartum looks like. Third visit, I cover postpartum. I talk about the 40-day, which is a 40-day postpartum, which is very traditional to Native Americans, as well as African traditions, to really stay home and rest for those 40 days because your uterus is still healing from that baby, as well as healing from the placenta, not the baby, as well as making sure that you're able to bond with the baby. And then also avoiding things like baby blues and postpartum depression. I cover newborn care in the third visit as well. And the fourth visit is optional depending on when you're due and what more of the information that we're needing. I usually use the fourth visit to either tour the hospital, if they haven't toured the hospital already, and to talk about if it is a hospital birth, what it's the outcome and what we're going to look at in a hospital birth. Especially when I'm working with Black clients, I'm really discussing the complexes of the system working in a house, going to the hospital to deliver. Like, so if we do go to the hospital too early and we do leave, what does that look like? Because we can leave early and he might want us to stay, and he might have a little fear tactics to force us to stay. Or we might get to the hospital and we might not like the staff. So really teaching them about their rights and how they want to labor, and reiterating what I discussed, like their first prenatal to them. And when I attend their birth, usually they'll call me, they'll let me know like things like, oh, my mucus plug came out today, or I'm feeling a little crampy or a little nauseous. And then I'm, know to stay in the area until they call me to come meet them. I either meet them at my home and we'll labor more at home, or I meet them at the hospital. If we are in active labor and we do want to stay at the hospital, or I go to the hospital with them and I stay with them the entire time, providing different comfort measures and making sure that they can navigate the way they want to have their rights. I'm kind of protecting them during that time. And then after that, baby's delivered, placenta's delivered. I'm there for that and making sure that if they do want to keep the placenta, how that works out. If baby has to go to NICU, helping them navigate that, or if baby's with them, they want to room in, if they want to say no to certain procedures. And then I go home about 2 hours afterwards, and I meet them maybe 3 to 7 days postpartum in their home. So postpartum, it could be a 2-hour visit, 3-day or 7-day. It depends on the client. If it's pretty well-to-do clients. She has a lot of help. She has a lot of family. I'm usually seeing her once or twice. Usually with my low-income families, I'm seeing them up to like the first year. I see a lot of my postpartum clients all over Brooklyn all the time, like different events, and sometimes we'll schedule little play dates, or I'll see them at Brooklyn Museum or in their house in the park, Trader Joe's. I see a lot of clients at Trader Joe's. And it's really about making sure that I'm covering holistically the whole health of them. So what their family life is like, what is their social issues that they have going on? Is your housing okay? Is transitioning to work okay? Are you able to pump at work? And what does that look like? Did you get paid family leave? If not, I can connect you to resources. So within the full spectrum doula work that I do, it's more covering all of their issues outside of just you're pregnant and I'm going to deal with making sure you have a natural birth. Doulas from all over the country on it. I want to say it's also maybe international, I'm not particularly sure. If you're looking for a Black doula or a Black midwife, you can go to sistermidwife.com, and it's a directory of all, well not all, but pretty much all of us on sistermidwife.com. And then it's local and asking people in your community, do you know a birth worker? Can you connect me with somebody? Is there an organization that's near me that I can contact with, and then I could find a doula that way?